new beginnings is definitely the underlying thread here, because with the women's Bundesliga getting more exposure because of Eurosport buying the rights, and Eurosport have very much been championing showing women's football. But also Hope Powell being sacked from the England job is also the potential for a new beginning as well. And for the women's game, it's very much, I think domestically and internationally, the women's game, especially seeing from Euro 2013 this past summer, the women's game is very much, we're almost waiting for that blue touch paper to be lit. And at the end of the day, I would see it as potentially a good time for a new beginning, because at the end of the day, there's not a great deal for me in terms of the women's game. There's not a great deal to lose in terms of making a new beginning at this point. I mean, Gman, I don't know if you'd agree with that, but at the end of the day, I think it's a good time after 15 years with Hope Powell. You know what? She's done very, very well in terms of English football over here. She's done very, very well. She's done very well in tournaments as well. And gotta say, good luck to her. Hopefully it's one of them ones where she does find another coaching job. But the England women's team, they have to now, I think, be careful with who they appoint next. That's gonna be the thing. I think it's going to be very, very important who they take on next. They can't just take on kind of a trophy appointment. Maybe someone like Faye White could be an England manager. You never know. An ex-player just come out of the game. Maybe. I'm just kind of flinging names out here. But I said with the women's Bundesliga getting good coverage, I think new beginnings is what it's needed. And every now and then you do need a new beginning. Every now and then you need a new beginning just to freshen things up and get things going again. But G-Man, what's your view on Hope Powell being sacked, her England record, and also the women's Bundesliga getting a new major deal with Eurosport?
Well, to be honest, I haven't really got much of a view on Hope Powell being sacked. Knowing that she's been there for 15 years, that's a good stint. Really and truthfully, it's hard to know the direction of the women's game, only having seen it, you might as well say a fractional amount of times this season. So it would be ridiculous to even make an assessment on whether she deserved to get sacked or not. That's a decision that they've made within England and the FA that surround her peers surround her. That's a decision they made. And but one thing I do want to say is I hope it doesn't become a circus in terms of when appointing a new manager, because that could do more harm than good, I reckon. Yeah, it just with the fear for me is like you saying, maybe a Faye White or someone like that coming in, but it's just the way they handle it. If they handle it like a great PR trick, it could be these things, as the England's men's job has led down the line, it's been PR trick after PR trick, and you don't want it leading like that. You just want a straight England women's manager, or in the case of men's team, get on with the football managing and just let them do their job. So let's just hope that is the case. And just touching briefly on the investment in the women's Bundesliga, like you said, they're getting investment. It's only a good thing. That's all I can really say without seeing that as well. But they're getting investment, and it shows there's progress there. But we just have to see some of those numbers where you said that 50% or more people are watching it. Well, you got to know what numbers have been watching it, because it could be 10 people last year, and then it could be 20 people this year. So, no disrespect, but I'm just saying, those are the crucial numbers that we really want to see.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, building anything is not only difficult but takes a lot of time and effort. And of course, we know that with what we're doing with PT. So it's one of them. I think you said the key word there, investment. I think the Eurosport deal for the women's Bundesliga was potentially fantastic because it's getting more eyes on the product because Eurosport have a lot of markets that they can hit into and potentially getting more money for the.
I think that's one of the key words Manisha Taylor said, and Sophie and Rachel have said when they first came on the show, like investment's needed and it can only be a good thing if there's investment in those sort of ways coming into the game.
No, definitely. I mean, Jaymie Bailey, you wanted to jump on this issue, didn't you?
Yeah, in terms of the women's football, I work with a female coach who is at West Ham currently as a player, but was at Queen's Park Rangers, and there wasn't really much progress. I would say in general, Hope Powell's done everything that she could, but to be honest with you, somebody and I've noticed that we have Terry Burton at the moment at Arsenal. We were doing something with the ladies. I can't, or is it Vic Akers? No, Vic Akers. He's doing something with the girls anyway, and I don't see why we can't promote more women's football in that sort of direction. If we have to get enough male coach just to fill the void, then bring them up. But the way that it's being put in is kind of boring. I just find it boring, and the way that they've done with the other team, it's just as boring as well. With the England senior men's side, I think there's meant to be progression within all the teams, and if you look at it, the only team that I've noticed with the women that have done that is Germany, regardless of whether they've won it over for the last how many years, the European Championship. But there's still progress, and with the Japanese as well.
But how can the England women's team progress? I mean, does it have to be a female manager as the next person to guide the side, or does it have to be a male manager with a lot of experience? How can the England Lionesses progress in your view?
My view, the same way that everybody else is. If you've got the experience, or even if you're a young manager that knows that is looking to do better, then give the person the opportunity. Why are you being held back for? Why are you being backstabbed just because you don't have a piece of paper? Give the person the opportunity. You can gain the piece of paper over the period of time that you're working with the club, with the team.
You know what? Just to jump on that point that Jaymie made, I gotta say I 100% agree with that. Regardless of man, woman, dog, cat, alien, yeah.
Dog and cat.
It's just the best person. You just need to get the best person for the job. Do you get what I'm saying? It's like, take AVB for instance. At Chelsea, he was seen as a pariah. Everyone turned on him. Yeah. You know, he done the treble with Porto. You know, get me. Get me. So
I've been told.
Goes to Chelsea. He gets treated in such a bad way. Yeah. You know, but Tottenham believed in his excitement and have taken him. That's you need those type of people in the game that, you know, obviously make teams feel that way, where they can invest in their team in a sort of way.
So giving someone new in
Brendan Rodgers,
yeah.
Liverpool, yeah. And Swansea, like. You know, you need those young managers coming through and just giving them that chance to breathe a fresh breath of air into the club. Yeah. You know, just
so you reckon someone like potentially Faye White would be potentially a good pick for England manager based on.
No. Like I said, I don't know her managerial credentials. I cannot make any assessment like that. I just say you need someone of that sort of that who has got the ability and who has that sort of energy.
All I'm saying, for me, it's just a case of if the person knows what they're doing off the pitch. That Faye White has if I think she's nearly completed a continental A license, B license, I think. But it's like for me, if I don't mind if I join the women's game or stick with the boys. As far as I'm concerned, if I'm being given the opportunity, I will take it as far as I can. If I get to the point where I am one of the first team managers at a big club, then fine, I've done what I had to do. But I would rather be told that I have the opportunity. And if you're going to just shut it down with Hope Powell being the manager for 15 years or Trapattoni being the manager for the next 8 years because he's on an €8 million contract, what the hell? Shut that idea down and say, you know what, we'll give you a 2-year contract. Let's see what you can do.
But I don't think it was a case of where Hope Powell was given a 15-year contract. I think it was just a case of it just so happened that no one better came along.
No,
or it could have been. It could have been that way.
No, there has been, and I've been seeing this over the last 10 years. There is somebody that is just as qualified as Hope Powell, but nobody stepped up to the mark in women's football.
But
all right. So who? All right. So go out on a limb. Who are you referring to?
I've got a few in mind, but I'm only going to say the ones that I know of now, and that's people like Umbreen Ali and people like Manisha Taylor. And I've seen a few other coaches that are just in the county sessions, only with the Middlesex FA or the London FA. They are what we need. I was when I said that I did my goalkeeper coaching, which I passed. That got Perry Suckling, who was the Crystal Palace goalkeeper, when Liverpool faced them and decimated them 9-0, but then lost 1-0 in the semi-final. I don't know how he's not even an England coach. I don't know how, because all he did was tell me what I needed to do as a coach, and I feel like I can actually take that into a football match. I don't even have to be a football coach. I can just take it into a football match and say, you know what, I know what I'm doing. If you want to train me up even more, then that will just be a better incentive. But if you don't know what you're doing, then go. I just want to see that there's going to be a progression in this country. Otherwise, you're going to have more coaches saying, let's go to Scotland, let's go to America, let's go and get our badges in Norway. Let's do what any other coach is doing and not stay in the country, because there's no talent, there's no progression, there's no nothing within this country. And if England's men's, seniors, unders, all of those teams are going to progress, it definitely need to find a coach that is willing to step up to the mark. Every coach is, but if you're going to tell him that he's only good when he's only been in a Premiership or this and that, or he's played at a certain level, then you might as well just tell him you're not even going to make it at the top level. You might as well just go home. Don't come back.
Well, that's an interesting point.
Well, Twitter quickly, we will put a question out there about Hope Powell, and we said that Hope Powell was relieved of her duties as England women's manager, and with Hope's big boots to fill, who is the best qualified to be the next boss? And Ferret Imp on Twitter basically has said Keith Bonas, Englishman with a wealth of experience, currently working for Estonia on their women's football program. So that might be an interesting one to throw at Sophie and Rachel if they know of him. I'm presuming they could do.
What was that name of
him? His name's Keith Bonas.
Keith Bonas. Sophie and Rachel, by the way, good evening.
Hello.
Do you want to jump in on the Hope Powell sacking and the mention by Ferret Imp on Twitter about Keith Bonas as well as a potential next England ladies manager?
I think you probably read our blog as well, that we all are very grateful to Hope for what she's done, but it was time to move on.
Well, I think Hope Powell was the only one who wasn't expecting her sacking. Sure.
Everyone else was, but she wasn't.
Everyone knew it was coming. Not that it was not that anyone. I like Sophie said, I don't have any bad feelings towards her. I think she's done a huge amount for the women's game, and it wouldn't be where it is today without her. However, everyone knew she was going to be sacked. And it's right, I think. The time comes for a manager, I think, and she's been there long enough, and I think new blood is definitely needed to go further.
Do you think this is potentially going to be a new beginning in the women's game?
I hope so. That's why I'm a bit wary about, say, Brent Hills, who's taken over as like the caretaker manager for the next 2 games, and he was the assistant manager to Hope and the under-23 coach. And I'm just a bit worried. I think he's said he's going to apply, or he has applied. And I'm just a bit worried that he's kind of in the same...
Very like for like.
Same mould as Hope Powell. He was brought up under a system. And I think if you're going to make a break, you have to make it complete. Otherwise, it's going to be...
What's the point?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
The other one that comes under that is Mo Marley, who is definitely well loved amongst the England players. She coaches the under-19s at the moment and took them to the final this year. And she's got a great reputation, but I'm also just a little bit worried that she's too much under Hope's wing.
Hopefully the fact that she didn't get technical director, the fact that they made a clean cut, is maybe a sign that they're looking to make a fresh start, hopefully.
Keith is definitely a good call from Ferret Imp. He actually was he went for the job the first time round when Hope got it, and he came out in the summer and was quite scathing of Hope and said that she should resign. He's got all the credentials, surely, I think. The other one that I'm quite interested in is a guy called Paul Riley. He was an English footballer. He played in America for his whole career, and now he's managing New York Flash. And a lot of the England players have played over there have said that he's the best coach that they've ever worked with. He came 3rd in the running for the US job when it was out last year. I think he's quite a good... And
he has expressed an interest as well. So.
Yeah, he'd be quite a good catch, I think. But something completely different.
But my question would be, it's interesting you say that something different, but I mean, my question would be, should the next England ladies manager be a female with experience, or should it be a male with experience, or does it not really matter?
It doesn't matter.
No difference whatsoever.
I think they need to have worked in the women's game before. That's
Some people don't see the importance of that, but I think, you can be the most experienced coach in the world coaching men's teams. But I think if you haven't coached a women's team before, it is different, and it does take a different style of coaching. So I don't think male or female matters, but experience coaching women's football, I think, is important.
No, that's a great point. That's a great point.
It is a different game, ultimately. It's football, but it's a different style of football.
I mean, a lot of men and women out there are very keen to point out the differences. While it is the same game, the style and technicality and the way it's played is different. It requires different tactics and different styles, so I think it requires a different style of management as well.
No, I hear that. Well, you know what? It's going to be very interesting. The next few years are going to be very interesting for England.
I just also wanted to add that on the good side of Hope Powell, what you were discussing about like the talent in English football in the men's side.
Yeah.
The way Hope set up the structure for the women's game in the FA is quite enviable, I think, for the men's game. She's interlinked all the clubs with the international structure. There's a definite path all the way up to the top.
Seamless transition for them.
And I think that's one thing that you've got to give her great credit for, is the way she implemented that, because there's nothing like that in the men's game.
Yeah, and that's important as well, that you've got that clear synergy. Like I was talking about earlier with the FA and the Premier League, there's no synergy there.
Yeah.
But one thing I'd like to ask, do you think that could degenerate as years go by and as money gets more involved in the women's game?
I don't think so. I think there will always be a different... I mean, the girls, international is always most important for the girls.
Yeah.
And I think it's always going to be that. It's been implemented so that there's always going to be that structure there, with the central contracts for the England players as well. The fact that they get paid by the FA to appear for England on a proper contract every year. I think it's an entirely different ball game to the men's side. So I'm not worried about that at all. I think she's put in a lasting kind of structure that will see it through.
It's definitely sustainable, regardless of who's in charge.
That's how, that's how you know it's a good structure.
She oversaw the under-19s, under-23s and senior levels. So she really did see, and I think the next coach will do the same. Will really see it all the way up. So I don't think there's going to be that much of a problem.
I heard that.
Breakdown.
I mean, it's a case of the kind of quality of any structure is in the fact that if you can walk away and the machine keeps going without you having to be there, then and being directly involved, then that's how you know you've got a good machine.
Yeah.
That's how you know you built something well. So. And
she worked really, really hard over the last 15 years to get that in place.
Definitely.
It can't have been easy amongst the suits in the FA.
The clown show.
One last question. Do you think it's just a little harsh with her, being relieved in this way, considering that now the women's game is getting more highlights on it? So she's done a lot of grafting where there was no highlight on the women's game. Men and women in this country weren't really taking an interest in it other than those who were playing. But now there is some sort of, worldwide attitude of, let's start promoting the women's game. Now, she's put England, as a force in a way they're marketed as a force to the world, and she's just relieved just as things are getting going.
I don't know, but I think, if any manager brought their team to a Euros final and then the following Euros didn't even qualify, didn't even get through the group stages, I think in any situation a manager would be fired.
Steve McLaren. McLaren's one of them.
I think, there has to be a time where she steps down and comes to an end, and I think she can't be England coach forever. And when you see some players who maybe are constantly being put in the team who maybe shouldn't be in the team, and some players who aren't getting a chance due to personal reasons, then it's time for a manager to go, in my opinion.
I heard that.
Fair enough.
That's a good shout. That's a very, very good shout.